11:03, Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. Welcome into today's edition of The Lunch Break. Chris Schubert with you as always, KDUS AM 1060, always on the KDUS AM 1060 app. And yesterday, we finally got it. We have been long awaiting this to happen. Weeks and weeks of conversation about it happening. And last night, it finally did.
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
You weren't thinking I was talking about the Jimmy Butler trade, right? You didn't think I was talking about a Bradley Beal move, right? Because we might have to wait a couple more weeks for that. No, we finally got the blowout victory from the Phoenix Suns that we've been looking for. They finally were able to take a game and have it in hand. Not worry about it, not stress about it. As they finished up their road trip last night, a 108-84 victory over the Brooklyn Nets, who aren't trying, who are injured. And the Phoenix Suns took care of business. Devin Booker led the way with 32. Kevin Durant followed that up with 24. And you know it's a good night. That doesn't matter for how many minutes, but when you pull up a box score from a basketball game and everybody on the court got a chance to play. Everybody that you brought with you drew into the lineup. That's how you know things went well last night for the Phoenix Suns. And they finished off that road trip 3-2. And listen, there's been a lot of negativity surrounding this team. There's been a lot of criticism surrounding this team. I think we've been driving the bus on that a little bit. Critical of some of the performances, critical of some of the moves, critical of the direction of this team. But before this road trip started, way back 5 games ago, we said, hey, go on the road, take care of business, go 3-2. That's a successful road trip. That is a nice road trip. That puts us back on a good track. And so I am not going to all of a sudden pull the rug out from underneath the Phoenix Suns today. They did exactly what we asked them to do. And so we get caught up in the game-to-game, night-to-night, day-to-day of the Phoenix Suns. But overall, we said when you looked at this schedule, you had Washington, you had Brooklyn. You thought those were 2 easy wins. Find me one other one and have a successful 3-2 road trip. And that is exactly what the Suns accomplished last night by blowing out the Brooklyn Nets. And I think importantly so, taking care of the Brooklyn Nets to where Kevin Durant only had to play 30 minutes last night. I thought you could have gotten Devin Booker a little bit more rest in that game last night where he didn't have to play 36 minutes. But you look across, you got everybody involved last night. That's good. Keep the legs fresh because you end this 5-game road trip. You come home, you have a game on Saturday against a Washington team that you should be able to take care of. Now you start to potentially get the ball rolling as we all circle one date on the calendar. It's February 6th because that is the NBA trade deadline. That is the day where between now and then we're going to know the future of this team, what direction they are going in. And I think that's where I want to start today. And trust me, we got a lot. We got a lot of Bradley Beal. We got a lot of Jimmy Butler again. Just the soap opera that, just like a regular soap opera, every day there's something new. There's just always something new for us to discuss. But where I'm at with this team right now is, and I'm watching the game last night, driving home, listening on the radio. I had to stop at the store, so I've got the game on my phone and watching it in and out of the store last night, listening to it on the way home. I get home, finally, for the third and fourth quarter, have it up on the tablet. I'm watching this game, and they're comfortable. They look good, and they're up as many as 14 at one point in the fourth quarter, and you didn't know if the Nets were going to respond because they had kind of been going on short little runs to bring it close, and then the Suns blew the doors off of it, and you end up with a 108-84 victory. And I don't know if it was just because of the start time for the game or what. The game was over, and I was just like, all right, cool. Great. And I don't think that's the fault of anybody involved. It's a fault of the situation that we find ourselves in. It's hard to live and die, to overreact or underreact to any of these games because we all know that this roster is going to be different in 2 weeks. We know that between now and February 6th, if the Suns do what we all think they're trying to do and what it looks like they're efforting to do, this roster is going to look a lot different. This roster is going to remove a superstar and potentially replace him with another superstar. This team might replace the center that they traded for a couple seasons ago and then had to trade for his replacement a few weeks ago. And who knows what other tricks might be up the sleeve of James Jones and the Suns front office and Matt Ishbia and this team as they chart the course for what the next couple of weeks are going to look like. And so it's hard to look at this team right now and look at what they're doing and put stock into anything, put value into anything, because you and I both know this is not going to be the team on February 7th. This is not going to be the team on February 8th. This is not going to be the team that hopefully is able to make it into the postseason. You know how when you get to the postseason in sports, you draw back on experiences or moments or series or different games throughout the course of the year to say that battle-tested, you're ready? This Suns team might look vastly different in 2 weeks. And so I can't put anything into what they did last night, at least not yet. If they do nothing between now and the trade deadline, and this is the group, I can put something into this. But this team is going to look extremely different in 2 weeks. It's going to have a new superstar, and there's going to be an acclimation period, and there's going to be games that it's going to take for them to gel, for them to find a rhythm, to be on the same page. And that team, I can't evaluate yet. I can't evaluate a Phoenix Suns team with Jimmy Butler and without Bradley Beal. I can't evaluate a Phoenix Suns team that potentially could replace Yusuf Nurkic, who's not doing anything for this team right now, with somebody else who could be a contributor. We'll just throw the Patrick Williams rumors out there as one example. I can't evaluate a team that might trade Grayson Allen. With everything that's out there for this team right now, it's why we refer to it as a soap opera. With everything that's out there surrounding this team right now, how am I supposed to look at last night's game other than, hey, nice job? You got to win. You finished the road trip 3-2. You did exactly what we asked. You come back home. You're one game above 500. Okay, let's go. Let's see what you're able to do. And unfortunately, I think that's how it's going to be the remainder of the time between now and maybe not February 6th, but between now and when they trade for Jimmy Butler, or if they trade for Jimmy Butler, because we got to put that bold capital letter if in front of this now. We'll tell you why in about half hour now or so from now. But things have changed. This is a ever-evolving landscape. The rumors are constantly cycling. They're constantly changing. I was having a conversation with somebody in the building this morning, and I said out loud, as somebody who's in the weeds on this every single day, reading stories, watching games, reading reports, seeing what this reporter's saying, seeing what this person's saying, that person's saying, trying to put it all together, trying to piece together the picture here to try to give you an opinion so we can have a conversation here on this show. I was explaining to a person in the building this morning, I need a PhD to understand what's going on right now. This reporter is saying this, that reporter is saying, no, that's not true, this is true. Then there's a third reporter that says they're both wrong, it's actually this, and Bradley Beal might want to waive his no-trade clause to Milwaukee. It is a lot. And so because of that, I think, unfortunately, it makes a game like last night just kind of fade into the background. It's nice. It was nice to win. It was nice to end the road trip the way that they did. It was nice to accomplish the goal of being 3-2 on this road trip. I'm sure they wanted to win all 5, but we said we would have been happy with 3-2, and so they did that. So in our minds, successful road trip, check. A blowout win, check. We've been waiting for that for weeks, months. Take care of business. Now I get to come home. Maybe you start to get the snowball rolling a little bit down the hill. But it all gets lost in everything else, because it's the everything else that is going to determine the fate of this season. Not what they did last night against Brooklyn. Not what they did in this 5-game road trip. It's the everything else that could happen, that might happen over the next week and a half or so between now, January 23rd, and the NBA trade deadline on February 6th. It's the everything else that's going to determine the success or failure of the Phoenix Suns season. What they have done through the first 43 games ultimately might be meaningless. What they do between now and whether or not Jimmy Butler comes here might be meaningless, because this team, hopefully, the idea is going to be very different once Jimmy Butler gets here. And then that's the team that we need to evaluate. Now, you need to take care of business. You need to keep yourself afloat. You need to make it to where when you make that move, it's meaningful, it's impactful. You haven't given the season away. I don't think the Suns relatively care at this point. I think they're just going to push onward and push through no matter what. But that's what makes last night's game so difficult. watching a game, the game's over, the Suns win, and I just found myself just kind of moving the tablet to the side and just moving on to the next thing that I had last night, the next chore that I needed to do. It felt like it was a chore last night. I didn't feel like I was watching the Phoenix Suns for enjoyment purposes. It felt like checking a box because we are moving forward to the more important stuff. And the more important stuff right now for the Phoenix Suns is not the basketball games, it's what they're doing with Bradley Beal. Are they really getting Jimmy Butler? And that is a scary place to be as a franchise. It is a weird balancing act when the outside noise is more important and more impactful than the actual on-field, on-court product. And for probably the last 2-3 weeks or so, and certainly between now and whenever this comes to a conclusion, that's going to continue to be the case. It's still going to hover over this team when they play on Saturday. It's still going to hover over this team up until there is some resolution, whether the trade deadline comes and goes or if the Suns actually get this over the finish line.